The emergency signal had not been used in 400,000 years. When it finally activated, it echoed across dimensions and through the fabric of space itself. 12 ancient species received the call, and they came without question. Something had gone terribly wrong. Kelvith stood at the center of the great chamber, his form shifting between light and shadow. He had lived for over 2 million years, and he had served as an observer for most of that time. His job was simple. He watched young species grow. He recorded their progress. He reported to the architects, the oldest beings in existence. In all his years, he had never called an emergency session. Until now, the representatives of the Galactic Observation Council took their places around him. Some appeared as towering figures of crystal. Others existed as clouds of pure energy. A few took shapes that no human eye could comprehend. They had all seen countless civilizations rise and fall. They had watched species evolve over millions of years, always following the same patterns. Nothing surprised them anymore. "Speak, observer," said the voice of the council's eldest member. "What threat has forced this gathering?" Kelvith's form flickered with something that looked almost like fear. "It is not a threat in the traditional sense," he said. "It is species 7841C, the ones who call themselves humanity." A ripple of confusion passed through the chamber. Humanity was a young species from an unremarkable planet in a small spiral galaxy. They had been flagged for observation only 200,000 years ago, barely a moment in cosmic terms. What could such infants possibly do to warrant this response? Asked a crystalline being from Theverthan delegation. Kelvith raised his hand, and the center of the chamber filled with light. Images began to form. First, they showed primitive humans huddled in caves using simple stone tools. Then the images shifted faster. Humans discovered fire. They built shelters. They created language. They formed communities. The images moved faster still. Agriculture appeared. Cities rose from the earth. Writing was invented. Mathematics. Philosophy. Art. "This is their entire history," Kelvith said. "All of it. 200,000 years. The chamber fell silent. Every being present understood what they were seeing, and none of them could believe it. "That is impossible," said a being of pure thought from the Mentari collective. "The Verthan took 6 million years to reach agricultural civilization. The Mentari required 8 million years to develop written language. Even the fastest species on record needed at least 3 million years to progress from stone tools to basic cities. And yet humanity did all of this in less than 200,000 years," Kelvith replied. "But that is not what frightens me." He waved his hand again, and the images changed. Now they showed modern humans. Skyscrapers touched the clouds. Machines flew through the air. Rockets broke free from the planet's gravity. Satellites orbited their world. Signals traveled at the speed of light. They reached space, Kelvith said quietly. In just 200,000 years, they went from hitting rocks together to leaving their own planet. The crystalline Verthan representative made a sound like breaking glass. It was their equivalent of a gasp. "It cannot be correct. Check your data again." "I have checked it 1,000 times, Kelvith said. "The data is accurate. There is something worse." He brought up new information, complex charts and projections that floated in the air before them. "Every species we have ever observed follows the same pattern. They evolve quickly at first, then slow down as they become more advanced. They reach a plateau and stay there for millions of years. It is the natural order of things." He pointed to a single line on the chart that climbed upward at an impossible angle. "Humanity does not follow this pattern. They are not slowing down. They are accelerating. Each generation advances faster than the one before. Their technology doubles in capability every few decades. Their understanding of the universe grows exponentially." "Where does the projection end?" asked the Mentari representative, though its thought voice trembled as if it already knew the answer. Kelvith hesitated. "If they continue at this rate, they will surpass every species in this council within 1,000 years. And they will match the architects themselves within 500 years after that." The chamber erupted in chaos. Beings who had not felt fear in millions of years now experienced it rushing through whatever served as their souls. The architects were the oldest civilization in existence. They had been guiding evolution across the universe for over 3 billion years. The idea that any species could match them was unthinkable. Summon the architects, demanded the Verthan representative. They must be informed. They already know, said a new voice. The chamber fell silent as a presence filled the space. It had no form that could be seen, no shape that could be described. It simply was. The architects rarely appeared before the council, existed on a level beyond physical reality, watching and guiding from dimensions that younger species could not comprehend. We have observed this anomaly, the presence said. We have studied it for the past century of their time. We have run every model and checked every calculation. What is your conclusion? Kelvith asked. The presence was quiet for a long moment. When it finally spoke, its voice carried something that none of them had ever heard from an architect before. It carried doubt. We do not understand them, the architect said. In 3 billion years of existence, we have never encountered anything like humanity. They break every rule we thought was universal. They ignore every limit we believed was absolute. What do you propose we do? Asked the Mentari representative. We do not know, the architect admitted. For the first time in our existence, we do not know. Kelvith stared at the images of humanity still floating in the chamber. He watched them building, creating, dreaming, reaching for stars they could not yet touch. He had observed thousands of species in his lifetime. He had seen civilizations rise and fall like waves on a cosmic ocean. But he had never seen anything like this. I will go to them, he said suddenly, not through sensors or long-range observation. I will walk among them. We'll learn what makes them different. The architect's presence seemed to consider this. That has never been done before. Nothing about humanity has been done before, Kelvith replied. Perhaps it is time we tried something new as well. The council agreed, though fear still hung heavy in the chamber. As Kelvith prepared to leave, the architect spoke one final time. Be careful, observer. These humans may be small and young and fragile, but they are also something we have never encountered in 3 billion years of existence. What is that? Kelvith asked. Unpredictable, the architect said. And that makes them the most dangerous thing in the universe. The architects gathered in a place that existed before the current universe was born. It was a sanctuary they had created billions of years ago, a dimension where time moved differently and thought traveled without limits. They had not assembled like this in over 100 million years. There had never been a reason to. Until humanity. Thousands of architect consciousnesses merged and separated, debated and considered. These were beings who had watched the first stars ignite. They had guided the evolution of life across countless galaxies. They had seen civilizations rise to greatness and crumble to dust. Nothing had ever surprised them. Nothing had ever worried them until now. The projections are clear, said one consciousness. If humanity continues on their current path, they will become a threat to the established order of the universe. They are not a threat yet, argued another. They are still primitive by our standards. They have barely left their own planet. That is precisely what concerns me, replied the first. They have existed for a mere moment in cosmic terms, and they have already reached space. What will they achieve in 1,000 years? In 10,000? In 1,000,000? The debate continued for what would have been centuries in normal space. Some architects wanted to intervene immediately. They proposed subtle changes to humanity's development, small adjustments that would slow their progress. Others suggested more direct action, a carefully placed asteroid, a shift in their sun's output, nothing that would destroy them completely. It's just enough to set them back a few million years. But there were also those who felt differently. We have guided evolution for 3 billion years, said an ancient consciousness, one of the eldest among them. We have always followed the same patterns because those patterns worked. But what if we were wrong? What if there is another way? You suggest we do nothing, demanded a younger architect. I suggest we learn, the elder replied. Humanity has achieved in 200,000 years what took us 900 million years. Perhaps they know something we have forgotten. The debate remained unresolved when Kelvith made his report from Earth. He had taken human form and walked among them for several months. He had lived in their cities, observed their customs, and studied their behavior. What he found challenged everything he thought he understood about intelligent life. They are chaotic, he reported to the council. They fight among themselves. They waste resources, make decisions based on emotions rather than logic. By every measure we use to evaluate species, they should have destroyed themselves long ago. Then why haven't they? Asked an architect. Kelvith paused before answering. Because of something I did not expect to find, something I witnessed in a place they call a hospital. He shared his memory with the assembly, and they experienced what he had seen, a building filled with sick and injured humans. Doctors and nurses working through exhaustion to save lives, family members holding hands with strangers, offering comfort to people they had never met. A man donating blood for someone from a different country, a different culture, a different belief system. I watched them fight death, Kelvith said. Not their own deaths, but the deaths of others. They spent resources and energy and time to save individuals who offered them nothing in return. It made no logical sense. Sounds inefficient, observed an architect. It is, Kelvith agreed. It is completely inefficient. And yet, it is also the reason they advanced so quickly, shared more memories. Scientists working together across borders to solve problems. Artists creating beauty for its own sake. Teachers dedicating their lives to educating the next generation. Parents sacrificing their comfort for children who would not remember the sacrifice. Oh, they call it love, Kelvith said. And hope. And compassion. They have dozens of words for these feelings, because these feelings drive everything they do. The architects processed this information in silence. These concepts were not unknown to them. Billions of years ago, when they were young, they had experienced similar emotions, but they had evolved beyond such primitive impulses. They had become beings of pure logic and reason. They had sacrificed emotion for efficiency, and they had stopped advancing. The realization struck the assembly like a physical force. The eldest architect spoke what they were all thinking. We reached our current state 900 million years ago. We have remained essentially unchanged since then. We thought we had achieved perfection. Humanity has not stopped, Kelvith said. Every generation pushes further than the last. Every individual dreams of something beyond what exists. They do not accept limits. They do not accept that anything is impossible. Because they are irrational, said an architect. Because they are connected, Kelvith corrected. They feel bonds with each other. They form relationships. They love their children and honor their ancestors. These connections push them to achieve more, not for themselves, but for each other. He shared one final memory, a human mother holding her newborn child. Looking into its eyes with an expression that Kelvith still did not fully understand. She told me she would do anything for this child, he said. She would move mountains. She would challenge gods. She would tear apart the fabric of reality itself, if that was what it took to give her child a better life. That is illogical, an architect said. But its voice carried less certainty than before. That is humanity, Kelvith replied. And that is why they terrify me. Not because of what they might do to us, but because of what they have shown us about ourselves. The eldest architect finally spoke, its consciousness heavy with something that might have been regret. We gave up these feelings because we thought they made us weak. We evolved beyond them because we believed pure logic was the path to power. But perhaps we were wrong. Perhaps the things we abandoned were not weaknesses at all. They were strengths, Kelvith said. The very things we considered primitive are what drive humanity to evolve so quickly. Love pushes them to protect. Hope pushes them to dream. Compassion pushes them to cooperate. Emotion is not their limitation. It is their greatest advantage. The assembly fell silent as the implications became clear. The architects had spent billions of years believing they represented the peak of evolution. They had guided countless species toward what they thought was perfection. But humanity had shown them a different path, a path they had abandoned so long ago they had forgotten it existed. What do we do now? Asked an architect. The eldest consciousness considered the question for a long time. We watch, it finally said. We learn. And perhaps, if we are wise enough and humble enough, we remember what it was like to feel. Far away, on a small blue planet in an unremarkable galaxy, humanity continued to dream. They did not know they were being watched. They did not know that ancient gods were debating their fate. They simply kept doing what they had always done, They kept reaching for the stars, and nothing in the universe could stop them. Dr. Maya Chen had spent 15 years studying the cosmic background radiation that filled the universe. Most scientists considered it random noise, the leftover echo of the Big Bang, but Maya had always felt there was something more. Patterns hidden within the chaos. Signals buried beneath the static. On a cold Tuesday evening, she found what she was looking for. The pattern was subtle, almost invisible unless you knew exactly where to look. It appeared in the spaces between the natural radiation, tiny variations that could not be explained by any known phenomenon. Maya ran the data through every analysis program she had. She checked it against every possible natural source. Nothing matched. The pattern was artificial. Someone had embedded a signal into the background radiation of the universe itself. "We are being watched," she whispered to herself, staring at her computer screen in the empty laboratory. "We have always been watched." Within a week, Maya had assembled a small team of trusted colleagues. Within a month, they had confirmed her findings beyond any doubt. An intelligence far older and more advanced than humanity had created a network of observation points throughout the cosmos. These watchers had been monitoring Earth for longer than human civilization had existed. The logical response would have been fear. The rational reaction would have been panic. But Maya felt something different. She felt excited. "We need to contact them," she told her team. "Are you insane?" asked Dr. James Wright, her closest colleague. "We have no idea what they want. They could be hostile." "They have been watching us for thousands of years," Maya replied. "If they wanted to destroy us, they would have done it already. They are curious about us, and I am curious about them." Against the advice of nearly everyone around her, Maya crafted a message. It was simple and direct. She encoded it in mathematical sequences that any intelligent species would understand. And she transmitted it toward the strongest concentration of the observation network. The message read, "We see you. We would like to talk." The response came 3 months later, not through radio waves or electromagnetic signals, but through a knock on Maya's office door. She opened it to find a tall man with silver eyes standing in the hallway. "My name is Kelvith," he said, "and we need to speak." Maya should have been terrified. She should have called security or run away or done anything other than what she actually did. Instead, she stepped aside and let him in. "I knew you would come," she said. "The moment I sent that message, I knew someone would answer." Kelvith studied her with ancient eyes. He had observed thousands of species across millions of years, but he had never met an individual quite like Maya Chen. Her heartbeat was elevated, indicating fear, but her voice remained steady. Her pupils were dilated with stress, but her hands did not shake. "You are not afraid," he observed. "I am terrified," Maya admitted. "But fear has never stopped humans from doing what needs to be done. So tell me, Kelvith, why are you watching us?" Over the next several hours, Kelvith explained everything. He told her about the architects, the ancient beings who had guided evolution across the universe for billions of years. He told her about the Galactic Council and the countless species that had risen and fallen under their observation. And he told her about the unprecedented debate currently raging among the most powerful entities in existence. "They are afraid of you," Kelvith said. "For the first time in 3 billion years, the architects do not know what to do. Some want to guide you. Others want to stop you. And a few want to destroy you entirely before you become a threat." Maya absorbed this information in silence. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm. "What do you want?" Kelvith hesitated. It was a question he had been asking himself for months. "I want to understand you," he said. "I have watched thousands of species, and none of them have been like you. You break every rule. You defy every expectation. You evolve faster than should be possible. And you do it through methods we abandoned billions of years ago." "You mean emotions?" Maya said. "Yes. Love, hope, fear, anger. We discarded these things because we thought they made us weak. But they make you strong. They drive you forward when logic would tell you to stop. They push you to achieve the impossible." Maya stood and walked to her window, looking out at the city lights below. Millions of humans living their lives, dreaming their dreams, loving and hoping and fearing, just like their ancestors had done for 200,000 years. You want to know our secret? She asked. Yes. There is no secret, Maya said. We are weak and small and fragile. We live for barely a century. We make mistakes constantly. We hurt each other and help each other and everything in between. But we never stop trying. We never stop reaching. We never accept that anything is impossible. She turned to face him. You architects have had billions of years to perfect yourselves. You have become beings of pure logic and reason. But you stopped growing. You stopped changing. You stopped dreaming. Humanity has not, Kelvith said. And humanity never will. Maya smiled. That is what terrifies your masters, isn't it? Not what we are, but what we might become. You have reached your ceiling. We have not even found ours. Kelvith nodded slowly. The architects are meeting to decide your fate. Some will argue for intervention. They will want to slow your progress, guide you onto a safer path. And what will you argue for? I do not know yet, Kelvith admitted. But I believe you deserve a chance to speak for yourselves. The Council has never heard directly from a species they observe. Perhaps it is time they did. Maya's eyes lit up with an idea. Then let us speak to them. Not with words or arguments, but with who we are. Let us show them what humanity truly is. She grabbed her phone and began making calls. Within hours, she had contacted leaders in art, music, science, and philosophy from around the world. Within days, they had assembled the most comprehensive collection of human achievement ever gathered. This is our response, Maya said, presenting the collection to Kelvith. Not weapons, not threats, not demands. Just us, our music, our art, our stories, our dreams, our love. Kelvith transmitted the collection to the architect's sanctuary. Across dimensions, ancient beings who had not felt curiosity in eons found themselves drawn to the strange creations of a young species. They heard symphonies that stirred something forgotten deep within them. They saw paintings that captured emotions they had abandoned. They read poetry that spoke of love and loss and hope, and in the depths of their sanctuary, the eldest architect opened awareness that had been closed for longer than most stars had existed. They remind me, the ancient being said, its consciousness trembling with something that might have been tears, of who we used to be. The debate was far from over. The future remained uncertain, but something had shifted in the fabric of the universe. For the first time in 3 billion years, architects were not just watching humanity. They were listening. The sanctuary of the architects had never known conflict. For 3 billion years, these ancient beings had operated in perfect harmony. Their vast intelligences aligned toward a single purpose. They guided evolution. They maintained order. They watched and waited and planned. But humanity had changed everything. The transmission from Earth had divided them in ways they had not thought possible. Some architects found themselves moved by the art and music and stories of this young species. They felt echoes of emotions they had discarded eons ago, and they wanted to feel more. Others saw only danger. They looked at humanity's rapid advancement and saw a threat that needed to be contained before. It was too late. They have progressed further in the past century than most species manage in 1,000,000 years, argued Valith, one of the strongest voices for intervention. Their technology grows exponentially. Their population spreads. Soon they will reach beyond their solar system. And then they will be impossible to control. Control was never our purpose, replied the eldest architect. The one who had been silent for so long before humanity's broadcast awakened something within them. We were meant to guide, not to dominate. Guiding them is no longer possible. They are beyond our models. They follow no patterns we can predict. The only way to ensure the safety of the established order is to intervene now, while they are still vulnerable. The debate raged across dimensions, but slowly, terribly, Velis' faction gained strength. Fear was a powerful motivator. Even among beings who had thought themselves beyond such primitive emotions, Kelvith watched the proceedings with growing despair. He had spent months among humans. He had walked their streets and eaten their food and listened to their laughter and their arguments and their songs. He had seen a mother holding her child. He had watched scientists working through the night to cure diseases. He had observed artists pouring their souls onto canvas, and he had made his decision. "I will not allow this," he said, stepping into the center of the debate. His form blazed with defiance that shocked the assembled architects. "I have served the Council for 2 million years. I've observed countless species and never once questioned our methods. But I question them now." "You would defy the will of the architects?" Valeth demanded. "I would stand with humanity," Kelveth replied. "They have shown me something we have all forgotten. They have reminded me why we began guiding evolution in the first place. It was not to create order. It was to nurture potential. And humanity has more potential than any species we have ever encountered. Before anyone could stop him." Kelveth severed his connection to the architect network and disappeared from the sanctuary. He materialized in Maya's office on Earth, his form flickering with the strain of his defection. "They are going to intervene," he said without preamble. "The faction that fears you has gained enough support to act. They plan to slow your advancement through subtle manipulation. Changes to your climate. Disruptions to your technology. Nothing that would destroy you, but enough to set you back millions of years." Maya stared at him, processing this information. "How long do we have?" "Weeks, perhaps days. They are still debating the specifics, but the decision has essentially been made." "Then we need to change their minds," Maya said. "I do not think that is possible." "Everything is possible," Maya replied with a fierce smile. "That is what being human means." She immediately began contacting world leaders. What followed was the most rapid diplomatic effort in human history. Within 36 hours, representatives from every nation had assembled in Geneva. Kelveth stood before them and explained everything, holding nothing back. The reaction was not what he expected. There was no panic. There was no despair. Instead, the assembled leaders looked at each other, and then they looked at Maya. "What do we do?" asked the Secretary General of the United Nations. Maya stepped forward. "We do what we have always done. We show them who we are." The message that humanity broadcast into the void was unlike anything the universe had ever seen. It was not a plea for mercy. It was not a threat or a demand. It was an invitation. "We know you are afraid of us," the message began. "We understand why. We are young and chaotic and unpredictable. We make mistakes. We fight among ourselves. We do things that probably seem irrational to beings as ancient and wise as you. But we also do something else. We hope. We dream. We love. We look at the stars, and instead of seeing limits, we see possibilities. We look at problems, and instead of accepting them, we solve them. We look at each other, and instead of seeing rivals, we see family. We do not want to replace you. We do not want to fight you. We want to learn from you. Your knowledge. Your history. Your wisdom. We want to understand the universe as you understand it. But perhaps in return, we can teach you something too. We can remind you of what it feels like to hope, to dream, to love, to look at the impossible and reach for it anyway. We do not know what we will become. Neither do you. But instead of fearing that uncertainty, what if we explored it together? The message ended with coordinates. A location in space where humanity proposed to meet the architects face to face. No weapons. No defenses. Just a small ship carrying representatives of their species. "They will never agree," Kelveth said. "They might not," Maya admitted, "but we have to try. That is what humans do. We try." The response came 2 days later. The eldest architect materialized on Earth for the first time since the planet was formed. The being took a shape that human eyes could perceive. A tall figure made of light and shadow and something that might have been starfire. Leaders from around the world had gathered to meet this ancient entity. But the architect walked past all of them. It stopped directly in front of Maya Chen. "Your message was heard," the architect said. Its voice sounded like wind through ancient trees, like waves crashing on eternal shores. "It has caused great debate among my kind. Many still believe you should be contained. They argue that your potential makes you too dangerous to leave unchecked. And what do you believe? Maya asked. The architect was silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, its voice had changed. It sounded almost human. In 3 billion years, we have never been surprised. We have never been afraid. We have never felt hope. You have given us all 3 in the span of a few months. The being looked at the assembled humans, at their nervous faces and their brave hearts and their stubborn determination to face gods as equals. You asked what we believe? We believe that the universe has been missing something for a very long time. We believe that we stopped growing because we forgot how to dream. And we believe that you might be exactly what we need. Does that mean you will not intervene? Maya asked. The architect's form shifted, and something like a smile appeared on its luminous face. It means we are done watching from a distance. It means we wish to know you properly. It means the question is no longer what we will do about you. The ancient being looked directly into Maya's eyes. The question now is, what will you do with our attention? 1 year had passed since the architects revealed themselves to humanity. 365 days since the universe changed forever. And Maya Chen stood on the surface of Mars, watching Earth rise over the red horizon. The colony around her was small, but growing. 5,000 humans now lived on the red planet, building homes and laboratories. In gardens in a world that had been lifeless for billions of years, they had done it in just 12 months. Using technology that the architects had shared freely and human determination that no technology could match. You're quiet today, said Kelvith, walking up to stand beside her. He had chosen to remain on Earth after his defection, and he had become one of humanity's most trusted advisors. He still looked human, though Maya now knew that his true form was something far more complex. I am thinking about how far we have come, Maya replied. A year ago, we did not even know we were being watched. Now we are building cities on other planets. Your species has a talent for rapid adaptation, Kelvith observed. The architects are still trying to understand it. Maya smiled. Have they made any progress? Some. They have been studying your history extensively. They are particularly fascinated by how quickly you overcome obstacles. Every time your species faced extinction, you found a way to survive. Every time you hit a wall, you found a way through. They have never seen anything like it. That is because they forgot something important, Maya said. They forgot that limits are just challenges in disguise. They forgot that the word impossible is not an ending. It is an invitation. Kelvith nodded slowly. He had learned so much in the past year. He had watched humans work 18-hour days to build this colony. He had seen scientists share discoveries freely instead of hoarding them. He had observed strangers helping strangers with no expectation of reward. And he had felt something he thought he had lost forever. He had felt inspired. The council has requested a meeting, he said. They want to discuss the next phase of integration. Integration. Maya raised an eyebrow. They are impressed by how smoothly first contact has gone. Other species in the galaxy are curious about you. They want to meet the young ones who frightened the architects. Maya laughed. It was still strange to think of ancient godlike beings being afraid of humanity. But she had seen the truth in the eldest architect's eyes. They had been afraid. They still were, in some ways. Not of what humanity might do to them, but of what humanity represented. Change, growth. The terrifying possibility that even gods could become something more. What happens at this meeting? Maya asked. The architects want to offer you something they have never offered any species before. Full access to their knowledge, their history, their technology, everything they have learned in 3 billion years of existence. Maya was silent for a long moment. This was beyond anything she had imagined. The secrets of the universe freely given. The wisdom of the ancients shared without restriction. What do they want in return? She asked. Kelvith smiled. It was an expression he had learned from humans, and it still felt strange on his features. They want to learn from you. They want to understand how you dream, how you hope, how you love. They want to remember what it was like to be young. Maya turned back to watch Earth rising over Mars. That small blue dot contained 8 billion people, each one unique, each one carrying the spark that had somehow terrified immortal beings. You know what amazes me most about humans? Kelvith said. When we revealed ourselves, when we told you that ancient gods had been watching you for thousands of years, you did not worship us. You did not beg for help or mercy. You invited us to talk? You treated us as equals. 'Cause you are equals, Maya said simply. Older? Yes. More powerful? Certainly. But not better. Not wiser. Just different. The architects are still struggling with that concept. They will learn. Maya smiled. We are very good teachers. A shuttle descended from the sky, bringing new colonists from Earth. Maya watched it land. Watched the doors open. Watched humans step onto Martian soil with wonder in their eyes. Each one of them carried the same spark. Each one of them held the same potential. The eldest architect asked me something yesterday, Kelvith said. It asked what humanity wanted most. What was the ultimate goal of your species? What did you tell them? I said I did not know. I asked Maya Chen, and she said something I did not understand. Maya turned to face him. What did I say? You said that humanity does not have an ultimate goal. You said that the journey is the destination. You said that wanting more is what defines you, not what you want. Maya nodded. That is the secret, Kelvith. The secret that the architects forgot, the secret that made them stop growing. They reached a destination and thought they were done. But there is no done. There is no final achievement. There is only the next dream, the next hope, the next star to reach for. And what is humanity reaching for now? Maya looked up at the stars, the countless points of light that filled the Martian sky. Out there, somewhere, ancient civilizations were watching. Species that had evolved over millions of years were waiting to meet the young ones who had broken all the rules. Everything, Maya said. We are reaching for everything. And when we get it, we will reach for more. Far away, in the sanctuary between dimensions, the architects observed this conversation. They watched Maya Chen standing on Mars, talking about dreams and hope and the endless hunger for more. They saw the colony growing around her, humans working together to build something beautiful in a barren world. And something extraordinary happened across the universe. Ancient species began to change. The Verthon, who had not created art in 6 million years, started composing music again. The Mentari, who had abandoned individual thought for collective efficiency, began dreaming personal dreams. Even the architects themselves, the oldest beings in existence, found new questions to ask and new mysteries to explore. Humanity had not just evolved faster than anyone expected. Humanity had reminded the universe why evolution mattered. In the end, the ancient aliens had been right to fear humanity. But not because humans were dangerous or unpredictable or impossible to control. They had been right to fear humanity because humanity carried something that the universe had lost: the capacity to grow, the refusal to stop. The audacious, beautiful, terrifying belief that tomorrow could be better than today, and standing on Mars. Watching Earth rise over the horizon, Maya Chen smiled, because she knew the truth that the architects were only beginning to understand. Humanity was just getting started. The stars were waiting. The universe was watching. And somewhere out there, ancient beings who had thought themselves complete were learning to dream again. All because of a species that had been alive for barely a moment in cosmic terms. All because of creatures who were small and fragile and gloriously, stubbornly, impossibly alive. All because of humanity.